Well, good evening and welcome back to Mystic Hour, live podcast about all things mystical and nerdy right here on Proficiency Bonus. I'm your host, Christy Mystic Water, and each week we have some cool chats with all cool people about all the geeky fandoms, hobbies, and cultures. This week and this month we are focusing on Dungeons and Drama and the correlation between theater and Dungeons and Dragons. And this week we're going to be focusing on directing versus DMing. Before we get into that, just a couple quick shout outs to the supporters of the stream, Twitch, OBS Streamlabs, as well as Many Sided Dice and Team MZ. Thank you guys, we love you. So I'm gonna take everybody over. There they are. Say hi to my guests. Hi, BBs.
Hello.
Hello. So today we have Sarah, Matthew, Russell, and Ink. So before we get started, I'm just gonna get everyone to go around the table per usual, introduce yourselves. I think everybody's been on this show before, but just in case, let everyone know who you are, where you're from, any stream plugs or advertisements you want to put out there, go for it. And I will start with Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from South Jersey region. I'm near Philadelphia, and I do... Oh my god, what do? I play here Mondays and Fridays. Nice. And I also DM my own show, which I should have started off with probably, on Sundays, which Ink is in actually, so yeah. Curse the Strahd. So that's what I do here.
Alright, next we have Matthew.
Evening, afternoon, wherever it might be where you are. I'm Matthew from South Carolina. You can find me here on Monday nights DMing Sarah and a couple of other lunatics through the Tomb of Annihilation, where they apparently still haven't heard of another show on this channel called Insight Check. Just saying.
Wow, full circle!
You'll also find me on Fridays as everyone's favorite undead, devil, wraith. If it's evil, Molphin has summoned it at some point.
Pretty much.
Yep, Storm King's Thunder. Fridays are always an adventure with Molphin on the stream, that's for sure. Next we have Russell.
Hey, what's up?
Hi!
I'm Russell. Contrary to what you may believe, it's Russell with 2 L's.
Oh, I mixed it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's literally been my entire life.
I had it right the first time you were on.
I know.
God damn it.
It's
Typos.
okay.
I knew that.
No, you know what's funny is pretty much everyone I've ever met in my life thinks it's spelled with 1 L, and every other Russell I've ever met in my life has spelled it with 2 L's. So I'm like, where is everybody getting this 1 L thing when literally every Russell spells it with 2 L's?
I'm sorry. Where are you from, Russell?
I'm from Jersey as well.
Yeah.
Like I said last time, although it's less relevant now, which Batman is also technically from Jersey.
Yes, I'm aware. We've had this conversation.
What?
Yeah, if you look at the DC universe map, Gotham City is in New Jersey. Anyway, just blew Sarah's mind.
Yeah.
So I'm on. What am I on? Well, I pulled this out. I'm on Tabletop Legends, which is Tuesday nights on Proficiency Bonus. We just did our 3rd episode, gearing up for our 4th episode, not our forced episode. Although all the episodes are kind of forced.
A little bit. You're hostage. You have to play.
We may or may not. This is special information. May or may not have one last mug to give away. Ooh. Because. Sarah got one. She had to buy it though, so
I did have to buy it.
If you don't win a mug, you can buy it. That's marblemoonstudios.com.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who won it last week so far has not given us his information, so if he doesn't get back to us, there might be another mug up. If he does get back to us though, suck it, you don't get a mug.
Notes for the raffle winners. Give us your information so we can.
Although to be fair, the guy that won it last time showed up in the last 5 minutes of the stream from Argentina.
Oh.
What?
And then won a mug, and we're like, okay.
That's so random.
That's how we do things here. All right. Last but not least, we have Ink.
Hi, I'm Ink. I play on Sundays in Curse of Strahd, damned by Sarah, and then I run and play on Wednesdays, alternating between my homebrew campaign Wish and our friend Danica's campaign Brood, as well as now we're doing like some kind of expanding out the universe one-shot kind of stuff that I've been playing in, where you now know that both of those worlds are connected. Crossover event of the century. I'm an illustrator and a writer.
Yes.
And I don't know. Sometimes I stream, but for myself, normally it's art, but I don't do it that often. Post art on Twitter. A lot of D&D art on Twitter.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that's what I do.
I probably should have mentioned that my degree is in theater.
Yes, it's very relevant.
That's relevant.
Specifically acting and directing, so that's why I'm here, because I've never DM'd before.
Also, Ink, what's your Twitter handle for people that are curious, because you do commissions and stuff too.
That's right. If you want to give me money, it's Inkweaver, but with a 1 instead of an I.
Good job.
At Inkweaver. That's what it is. I think that's my Twitch too. If I stream, if you come to my streams and do requests in the chat, sometimes I draw it. So then that's free art.
Well, next month is anime, so we're gonna be doing a lot of drawing episodes for Mystic Hour. So
Nice.
I'm gonna be stealing you for that. Anime.
I can't wait. I've never drawn in an anime style.
You will.
I will do it.
You're gonna have to try live on the stream.
All right. Well, speaking of theater and relevant topics, I'm gonna go around the table to ask all of you, like, just the basics. When and how did you get into theater or acting or improv or any form of that type of media? So I'll start with Sarah.
Well, I started singing when I was like 4.
Nice.
Like in church choir and stuff like that. So I've always been involved into that aspect. Like we did plays and stuff, and all throughout high school I've done singing and a bit of theater together. Mm-hmm. A couple years marching band, but mostly theater.
Interesting.
Xylophone, good stuff. But yeah, I got into it because I was singing, but not for the acting part. So. Mm-hmm.
So what made you get into it for like the acting side? Like I know you started with the music with choir and stuff. When did that transition to the acting?
Probably in middle school.
Yeah.
You know, that's when you go through that phase where you're like, I don't know if I want to be in the back or the front, but I'm gonna try everything. So I just tried it and I decided I liked it. So.
Oh, that's so cute. All right, what about you, Matthew? When and how did you get into theater / acting / whatever?
Similar to Sarah, when I was younger, just choir and stuff at school, and then in high school we had a small group of us that were doing little like improv things during off blocks. Oh, cool. But then the school actually started up a drama club, and we ended up putting on a musical that sort of tied it back into everything. So if any are familiar with the musical Bye Bye Birdie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Who were you?
Birdie.
Yay! That's so cool!
And yes, and they're all still stuck in my bloody head, and yes, there was a gold lame jumpsuit involved.
Oh, shit!
Well, there better be.
We need
that's
a picture.
beautiful.
Oh, that's
Picture
so
in your
adorable.
heaven.
That's adorable. Okay, well, what about you, Russell? I know you mentioned you went to school for it, but when did you first start getting into the medium?
Technically, I would like to think that I've been acting my entire life. Even as a kid, I used to like just reenact things from movies and stuff like that. My first like actual play was in 6th grade. It was a really like crappy children's play called The Quest for Quasi, which is about Quasimodo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Okay.
But it was like a crappy like comedy. To give you a good prime example, the climax of the show happened where they confront the Wicked Witch of the West in a McDonald's. So, as that,
Wicked Witch of the West isn't even in.
It was like all.
It
It was weird because it was like Quasimodo was the main character, and then like Sleeping Beauty was. It was all like different fairy tale characters.
Different fables.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of like kids plays like to just take
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fairy tale
totally.
characters and
Liberties.
clusterfuck them
Totally.
together.
Yes.
Then in high school, I was very fortunate with the high school I went to, had a lot of theater opportunities because not only did we do a fall play and a spring musical every year, we also had the Thespian Society, which would go and compete every year, and we also had what was called the NJDFL, which is the New Jersey Drama and Forensics League, which was essentially an acting competition team.
Oh.
Wow.
It happened every weekend. So, yeah, my biggest claims to fame in high school were I was in Beauty and the Beast, and I was in Anything Goes. And I was also in A Christmas Carol.
No.
I was Cogsworth in Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
I was Moonface Martin in Anything Goes, and I was Scrooge in Christmas Carol.
Oh,
Nice.
I love that.
And then
love that so
at some
much.
point my parents decided it was a good idea to let me go to college for theater, so I did. My biggest, I would say my favorite college role was my senior year. I played Van Helsing in Dracula.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh, that's awesome.
What a spectrum.
Yeah.
Wow. We will definitely.
He has the range.
She has the range. All right. What about you, Ink?
Okay, so I was going to say that I started in high school, but waiting for my turn in this gave me repressed memories. I was in middle school. I was in middle school choir. I totally forgot that. And then also way back even before that, the local theater troupe needed child actors. It was an elementary school. They needed child actors for Wizard of Oz to play all the Munchkins.
Oh.
So in a like local theater production when I was in elementary school, I was Munchkin number 3. And then ever
The
since
best
then,
Munchkin.
the best Munchkin. I had lines. I don't remember.
The Lollipop Guild.
That's, you know what's
I
funny?
was part of the Lollipop Guild.
You know what's funny? That's a
of the
funny
Lollipop
coincidence
Guild.
because now that I think about it, my first like actual role was in another like crappy like fairy tale play. I was pig number 3 in the Three Little Pigs. I was the only one that spoke. So yeah, there we go. We're
yeah.
Pig 3 and Munchkin 3.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was a member of the Lollipop Guild, yes. And
Wow.
then ever since then, I mean, I'm a gay extroverted only child who wants attention.
Because of the
So
Lollipop Guild.
Me too. It's fine.
so
I feel you, Ink. I feel you.
I
feel
kept
ya.
going. Freshman year of high school, I actually tried because I didn't. It had my high school was a private school, so it had a good theater program. I didn't really want to do sports. I like did track, and then I was very much like I did
track
something
too.
for a year and I didn't like it. So I did track, and I was like, I'll try out for the play. And then I tried out for the play. And I was like one of like 2 freshmen that got in, and then the director started like tracking me down in the halls and was like, so you're gonna try out for the next play, right? And I was like,
was your director Draco Malfoy from A Very Butter Musical?
I wish. Oh my
That's exactly
god.
what you're like.
No, but we called him D because he was the director. David, his name was like David DeLulo, so we just called him D.
D because he was a douchebag.
He was also kind of a douchebag. But in,
Most
like,
directors are.
Most
but
people
yeah. Then he tracked me down, made me try everything, and then I was like, oh well, just do the plays, not the musicals. And then he was like, so you're gonna try out for the musical, right? And I was like, no. And he's like, can you? And he was like, sing something. And I was like, oh. He was like, baritone, perfect, you're in. And I was like, hey.
Is that actually what you sang? You were just like,
No, I don't remember what I.
Probably the Lollipop Guild theme song.
No, I sang.
he sang "Memory" from Cats.
No.
Don't pull up my heartstrings.
The worst musical.
Hey now.
I know.
Hey
I sang. That fucking Crazy by Gnarls Barkley, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That old one. I sang that. Because
Wow.
it just came to
Who's
my-
really CeeLo Green? Even though he tried to be like, I'm Gnarls Barkley, he was CeeLo Green.
Yeah.
He was CeeLo Green. And yeah, so that was like my first like song audition that I did randomly on the spot, and then my first like monologue audition that I did the speech from V for Vendetta, which is very
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but Munchkin number 3.
Yeah.
It's funny that we all kind of have like the musical experience, because my first ever official musical that I was in Oliver Twist. And
Nice.
I was sausage number 1.
You were sausage number 3 or not
No,
the club?
I was literally the first kid that walked out on stage dressed as like a sausage, while the actual orphans sang "Food, Glorious Food," and in their head they're imagining all the food going in between the aisles, and I was the first kid that had to sing at the same time as they were singing as a sausage. That was my first.
We didn't have people play food when we did Oliver. I was Bill Sykes.
We
That was
were
fun.
an extremist drama school. Like, Betty Huff has always got every single student involved in all of their productions. Even kindergarten me was put into a sausage outfit, learned the song, and had to like run around the gymnasium dressed like a freaking sausage.
I'm gonna see this.
So
When
somewhere.
I'd have to ask. I'm still.
She
in
still has
contact.
the costume in her
Adorable.
closet.
I wish
That's
that would
so
be great.
cute.
So
Bill
that
Sykes was
that
one
was
of my
my first
favorite
one. I
ones.
also
Oliver Twist is good.
Hey, what kind of show is this here?
We also did. I wish. We also did similar to yours. We did like a mismatch of different like fables. So I was Anastasia's, which was Cinderella's stepsister. So I played her.
Perfect sense.
What I don't understand why the classic
Anastasia, yeah.
children's show is just let's take
Everything and
Yeah,
Every
it was
fairy
like a mix
tale and
of
just
Little Red
shove it
Riding
together.
Hood, Cinderella, Little Mermaid, like of all things.
The one where
the-
I was pig number 3 in was called Big Bad, and the premise was they put the big bad wolf on trial. And
Yeah,
it's like,
you know what? I think I've done that
Oh
one.
my god, I
Even
shot
she
I
did.
feel like I've done that. I've done that play.
Me too.
you
I
probably
was
did.
the duck.
I don't
I
remember
was the
Duck,
duck.
but I don't.
Listen, nothing will ever be better than Hoodwinked. So.
Like Loosey Goosey or something. The duck from
Yeah.
The Sky is Falling, The Sky is Falling.
Yep,
I think
yep.
that I was...
Chat says people are now going to Google Christy Mystic Water Sausage Soup.
Oh no! Don't! I don't think you will ever find it.
I don't think you want to know what you'll find.
Yeah, you'll see some weird things if you Google sausage suit. Just don't.
Do it.
For your own safety, for the sake of your own
I
eyeballs,
was kindergarten, guys. Kindergarten.
don't add kindergarten to that search. It'll be worse.
Oh jeez.
What's the next
On
question,
that
Christy?
note, let's segue here, guys. Let's find a segue where there isn't any.
I don't want to know what the segue is from this
So do
conversation.
the rest of you have sausage suit stories?
No, I do not.
Oh jeez.
I played multiple people in Beauty and the Beast. One of them being a cheese grater, because
Nice.
I was the only person that could do flips, and they wanted the cheese graters to do flips.
Why? That's
Why
not a thing
not?
cheese graters do. You ever seen somebody
Oh.
flip a cheese grater?
All right,
Okay.
guys.
I don't know.
I know not
Maybe
everybody
Pam?
here is a DM, myself included. I've only DM'd twice for one shots, but I'm curious how long the three of you have been DMing. I know you guys have probably said this before on my show before, but I just kind of want to get a correlation between the theater and the D&D.
You should superimpose that like math meme over everybody right
yeah.
now, where they're all like,
Oh my god.
Hold on, what month is it? It's
Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
Okay.
6 months consistently.
6 months.
I've done some
before.
one shots before that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Strahd started in November, so.
Yeah, that
I
sounds
think
about right.
I think I'm past a year now.
I think you're past a year as well.
Before joining proficiency bonus, it was like half a year or something.
Yeah.
We're full circle now.
Matthew, when
I've got a year with proficiency bonus running Tomb of Annihilation, but I started DMing back in the early 90s Redbox.
Wow.
Then dropped out for a little while as my group disappeared. Yes, I'm old.
It's okay. You're vintage.
really
I'm looking at this and I'm listening to Ink, and he's like, "Oh, I sang this from my monologue I did from V for Vendetta." I'm going, "That movie came out in 2000. God damn it! I was already out of college at that point."
No, but it was a book in the, 90s.
yeah, but the monologue is not in the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Monologues
not?
in the movie.
No.
Monologues in the movie. Yeah, it's in the movie. That's true. All right. Do any of you guys have experience directing theater?
Yes.
Yes, obviously. What about Ink and Matthew?
No, it's for our production when we were doing the musicals in high school. My school was much smaller than it sounds like you guys were. My graduating class was 22.
Jesus Christ.
Are you like Mormon?
No, I went to a
Okay.
Catholic school in Massachusetts, though.
Okay.
Catholic school in Rhode Island. We're a smaller state, but apparently.
So the
it's kind
statement of
big.
Jesus Christ was more accurate than I thought.
We had like
No, I had a little experience with helping. Like the director was showing us all little bits and
Right,
pieces.
right. So you would help with
But
like,
it
stage
was-
management type things.
Yeah,
Right.
Wow.
but for the
Okay.
most of it, it was all. Oh, you're not in this scene? Okay, you're going to help out and do this, and this is what you're in charge of
Right.
until you're back on the scene.
Right.
I mean, I've done screenwriting, I've done mock production, I've done directing for short film, all things around it, and then never actually directed for theater.
Gotcha.
So,
Well, there
Actually,
are
I should mention
correlations
where-
between that.
yeah. Directing for short film, though.
Yeah.
I will mention where Ink just said something, mentioned the word mock. Something else that I didn't mention from that could almost correlate to theater-esque aspects. I don't know if if it was just a Massachusetts thing, called mock trial.
I know we had that.
I think we had
Okay.
that as
Debate
well.
club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
We did that
debate
we had a criminology elective, so if you took that, you did.
Mock trial's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that as an offshoot of from the drama side.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
So somehow
Yeah.
you saying mock made me think of it. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that-
get all the most dramatic kids in the school in suits and make them play lawyer.
basically.
When I had to do my mock trial, my fucking partner got the flu, and I had to do it by
Oh,
myself.
no.
And we were defending a guy who was like 107% totally guilty.
Oh, no.
Well, first things first, you don't say that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah.
just like reading the case description. It's like, well, he's so fucking guilty. We're gonna lose, but we'll make a good argument.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what about you, Russell? Have you done directing?
Yes, I have.
Yes. Tell
I
what
first
experience
directed.
do you have with that then?
I first directed in my senior year of high school. We had a directing 1 and 2 class, which happened at the same time, and the only difference was in one of them you had to direct a comedy, and the other you had to direct a drama. So it was not really two different classes. So I did 2 short plays in that. Then when I went to college, I was in acting. In the way my university worked in the theater major, there was different tracks. There was like musical theater track, pre-teaching track, dance track, tech track, and acting directing track. So I was acting directing, so you take your share of acting classes and your share of directing classes. I also, quite a number of times, had to help some people from other directing classes. They're like, hey, can you be in my scene and also come up with all the ideas, because I have no ideas. And then my senior year, to be able to graduate, you have to put on what they call senior project, which is basically they're like, hey, you have to put up some sort of something, whether it be a show or whatever. We're not going to give you any money, and there's 53 of you, and we have 2 spaces. Get fucked. Put up a show.
Yeah.
So I put up a show that I wrote, directed, and then starred in because, I'm an egomaniac. But that was actually right over my shoulder right there. That's my life-size puppet from my play. His name is Felix. He's actually taller than me when he stands up. He's like 6'2". So that was like my biggest directing thing, and it was hard because it was having to be something you wrote and then you're also starring in, and there's only one other actor and a co-puppeteer, and the whole thing was kind of challenging. But yeah, so that's my experience. Plus, I've worked with a lot of directors, so you kind of get every time you work with a director, you get a feel of different directing styles and how people run stuff.
Yes. Yeah, the closest I've come, like I've done like stage management, I've done like production management, like run like not really theater, it's more like I would be the stage manager for a big show of like dancers and kind of like get everyone set in the right place and music and all that other fun stuff. But in terms of theater, the closest I came, and unfortunately it fell through because a lot of the actors flaked, because it's from the same elementary school. We went back as an alumni group for the second or third year. It was the third year, and we lost our first director. She had other commitments, so I took on the mantle. Unfortunately, I think we were doing Peter Pan or some sort of like shorter play. I can't remember now what exactly we were doing, but I was given the task of directing all these kids that had recently graduated from elementary school going into high school, or graduating high school going into college, and they just weren't there. So it was really hard for me to do any sort of directing when half my
Kids
cast
suck.
don't show up. And I'm like,
That's even in college. That was a big trouble of like.
oh no,
You had to put up to put
Yeah.
up a scene every week, and like you needed to find actors every week, and people like flake and or like a lot of times it's like it's a lot of pressure for somebody to have to memorize like a huge long scene in like 2 days with one rehearsal and stuff like that. It was always a big trouble
Yeah.
in college, was finding reliable people.
Yeah, I misspoke. They were elementary kids going into high school, so
Oh.
some high school students. They were still really young, and like
I still stand by my statement of kids suck.
yeah, kids do suck. So I think I was like grade 12 or just out of high school when I was taking over for the directing role. We did everything by hand. Like all the stage was all handmade
Wow.
by kids. Like the first year we did was Treasure Island, and I played Dr. Livesey. And we did all the backgrounds. We painted the pirate ship. We painted everything. And I was supposed to be tasking these kids to do the same thing we had done the year before, and just their hearts weren't in it, and I couldn't work with what I had. Like I tried my best, but it was so hard. So it's technically a directing gig, but I never got to see it to fruition, unfortunately.
Aw.
Yeah. So that's my closest experience with directing a theater group. The next one is, if Lip was here, it would make more sense, but here's the question Lip wrote. We spoke before about how DMing is like directing an audience for theater, but you have the benefit of seeing their reactions in real time. Have you ever felt like a time where this was most true or more false in terms of theater versus D&D?
Well, I would say that in both D&D and live theater, that you pretty much get to see audience reaction almost immediately. It's a little more difficult, like, if you're doing a drama, but if you're doing a comedy, like,
Yes.
if the audience is laughing, you're getting immediate, or if they're not laughing, which is even worse, you're
Right.
getting immediate reaction.
Yes.
I guess just as a DM, because it's a lot fewer people and you can see them all, you get a better read. But I would still say you get an immediate reaction.
Yeah, I think that DMing is less that the other players are your audience. It's like theater, it's definitely the audience itself is almost one character, whereas when you're sitting at a table DMing, each person is
Has
their own
character, yeah.
is their own, but like, yeah, I mean, you definitely, I remember in our production of The Importance of Being Earnest, we did a special, very, very small showing where the audience sat on stage with us.
Oh,
And they
cool.
watched it like a live audience for a sitcom TV show.
Oh, cool.
And so I would be acting to someone here, telling jokes, while there's an audience member about a foot to 2 feet away from me, laughing their ass off, and I'm trying to not break character.
Yes.
That was
Every show I've ever been in, my dad has, from the audience at some point, tried to get me to break character. Like,
see,
I mean, to
Every
be fair, in D&D,
time.
breaking character happens all the fucking time.
all the time.
like,
Oh, it's hard.
and I mean, like, serious moments. Like, I was in a show one time. My parents were in the front row. It was like a play about the revolutions in Egypt. And there's one part where, like, after like the main character dies, the cast marches around, like in front of the audience as a funeral procession. And my dad in the front row locks eyes with me and just goes. He's sitting like this and just goes. that's the closest I've ever come into breaking, but I didn't.
It is hard not to break character.
Yeah.
Even playing.
Though in D&D it doesn't matter.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, for me, when you're streaming, like, it's like I
That's
try not
another
to
thing. It's
break
another added level of like pressure
Yeah.
and audience level.
Yeah.
because, like, I know, especially on Fridays when I say something dumb as Ashlyn, I will try really hard not to laugh at
Do
Ashlyn.
so well though.
It's so
You're
hard.
deadpan. Sometimes Ashlyn and your reaction is so deadpan that I just lose it. And it's that type of.
I try.
I don't know. I love that type of shit.
The trouble I have with Brahm on Tabletop Legends is because a lot of times my mouth works faster than my brain. So I will say something that I wasn't expecting even myself to say. It'll be funny, and then I'll have to try and keep it together, mainly because a lot of times I'll say something where I have to laugh because I'm like, I fucking got myself in a corner here.
Where did that come from? Yeah.
Like one of our test sessions, which may or may not at some point get released. We were like, it started out we're in a tavern, and they're like, "What do you want?" Everybody ordered, and my character was like, "I'll have a smear this off ice."
Oh no.
So they were like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like,
I don't know what it is, but give it to me.
yeah. I mean, like, there was a moment where I'm like, "What have I done?"
Mistakes were made. Yeah, I feel that. What about you, Matthew? Any thoughts on this?
It's weird for me because I don't tend to think of DMing like directing.
No.
Well,
that's fair, because I'm asking how true or how false this is. So
Yeah,
you're on the
it's-
false side. Okay.
Yeah, I tend to feel more it's... I guess the best analog I could put to it is, like you mentioned, is stage production or stage manager.
Right.
I'm the one who's running out from behind. I roll the set in.
Right.
And say, okay, here's the room you're in. Here's the NPCs that are in the room.
Go.
What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
The minute you start interacting, okay, now I'm taking off that role and now I'm acting with you as, pig number 3. Or whoever it may be. And then once that interaction is done and you're back in the world, it's, step back, okay.
Yeah, it's hands off, hands on.
I can see
But-
both sides of that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I always felt like it's I'm sorry. If there was
I was yawning. If that was
okay.
Bing's talking again now.
no, I had to get up way earlier than usual this morning. So.
Oh.
I always felt like theater production was a group of people working as a team to create the director's vision of the text. It's kind of like the directors, like they're the ones that are when you get the script, they're the ones that they're trying to see it, and they have all of these people to kind of help kind of create that vision. Whereas a DM, it's a good DM. It's not supposed to be about, illustrating the dungeon master's vision. It's about the dungeon master laying a framework. I think the stage manager is a good connection.
For sure.
More about laying the foundation on which then the story is built from that. If anything, a good DM is about actualizing the player's vision. You are a means to serve the players, whereas the players of a play are meant to be used to evoke the story of the script
director.
and the vision of the director.
Yeah, I see that.
Exactly.
And to go along with that, I feel that a big difference is with theater, everybody's on the same team, but with D&D, sometimes it can feel like the dungeon master and the not necessarily versus the party, but
well,
end
sometimes.
the party.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, sometimes the dungeon master is playing someone that is against the party.
This is perfect because this is like a perfect segue for the next question. In directing, the concept is to take a body of written work and communicate it effectively to all various components of the production. Example, lighting designers need to know the time of day, costume needs to know the weather, actors need to know their character's history, etc. Without having as much collaboration in building this world, do you find it easier or more difficult process when working more independently as a DM?
I have a hard time being DM sometimes because it's just like so much information that I'm trying to put in and remember that I'm so guilty, and Inkle nod his head, that I'm guilty of reading from the book because I just want to fit everything in and kind of have everything together for the players so they know everything instead of letting it be more organic. Like, that's my fault. I have to let things be more organic for the players and actually step back and let everything happen. So,
if I can segue from that real quick, because Sarah's, you may notice, I think I tend to take it the exact opposite way.
yes.
Whereas I'll look at something like, we're going through Tomb of Annihilation. They're in the tomb. It is nothing but traps and boxes of text to be read to players. And I read through the entire thing when we started a year ago. And I'm going through it now, and I read through it again an hour before we go live for the section they're in. Because my goal is I want it to feel living and breathing. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do come Monday. I know what everyone thinks they're going to do. I knew that 2 weeks ago. They threw a wrench at that, just like Michael always says.
Right.
No, it's I can never remember who the quote's from, but it's a quote about the Battle of the Barge. No great intelligence knew that the pieces on the board were going to end up in this exact order.
Right.
The minute conflict happens, which is what D&D is at the base of it, whether it's dialogue, whether it's combat, whatever it is, there's some conflict that's driving our players. The minute that happens, everything goes out the window. And so, like as Sarah says, she tries to get everything down so it's perfect for the players. With me, it's like, okay, I get a pretty good idea. We'll wing it.
Yeah, I just started writing general ideas down, and then I'm going to start letting the players have more with that. Instead of writing down, like, every little thing. I think I just started, like, 2 weeks ago, maybe writing down big concepts and then just letting them run with it. So that's where I hope to be soon. More, like, hands-off.
Could tie in better to this conversation that brought us all here tonight. Because, like, as I've mentioned to Sarah and some of the others from my Monday group, once Tomb was over, I had an idea to build an entire world, much like Matt and Tabletop Legends is doing. And said, why don't we stick in Faerun so we can still be part of this bigger universe that's had people from the different Faerun campaigns and even some of the other campaigns meet up. But going with that sort of homebrew idea campaign, not a book module like Strahd or like Annihilation or Storm King's Thunder.
Well, we're not even in the book for Storm King's Thunder, but I see your point.
Right,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that's the beauty of it. While it makes Michael's job harder as a DM, at the same point, in my opinion, it can make it easier. Because I don't have to sit here and read over 30 pages of manual to know what's going to happen. If I've got an idea and I've got, okay, Ink's a bad guy, Russell's a bad guy, Christie's a bad guy, I know they're going to pick one of them to go after. Get an idea for each one, and then, okay, whatever happens.
All the information I printed out about just where we are right now. What I don't even know what town we're in. What town are we in?
Ink just screen capped that, by the way, and now he's reading all of it.
Valakey, and I had to go print out 70
But it's interesting because, like...
It's funny because Varian wouldn't care.
It's interesting, though, because, like, even though... Sorry, Russell, I know you have something to say, but the fact that we're building this world, it is kind of a collaboration at this point, at least with proficiency bonus, because we have, like, this extended universe now. And it's kind of like a shared collaboration. It's not just one DM's vision of the world or one director's vision of the world. It's multiple.
That's true.
Sorry, go ahead, Russell.
trying to think what I was going to say. My main thing that I have with myself is all of my thoughts are stream of consciousness. So if I don't like get them out immediately, they're gone.
Want me to repeat the question? Would that help?
Oh no, I got it because
Okay.
it was off of something Sarah said. Sarah mentioned something I think was key, which she mentioned the book, which is where I think a lot of the similarities between directing and DMing come from, because
With modules versus
you are
and the
technically
scripting, yeah.
working from a text. And even if, like in the case with Tabletop Legends, it's an original thing, it's still technically a text that Matt wrote all of. So that's, I think, where a similarity is. And then, like directing and with DMing, you then get to use your artistic license to do whatever you want. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been in a production where, as an actor, because I'm more on the acting side, but where I'll deliver a line and a director will be like, all right, hold on, wait. That line's stupid. We're going to change it to this.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily always like technically the right thing to do or the legal thing to do. But,
right.
A lot of here's a little key on theater. A lot of what goes on in the theater is secretly breaking the law without it. That's what happens. We actually
you're right.
my freshman year of college, we did a show. It was called Peer Gynt by Romulus Linney, and one of the main characters, like the character's mother, was being played by a man dressing as a woman, and in the contract you have to sign from the Linney estate, it kind of says you can't mix gender, and apparently there was some sort of our school was like, well, we're gonna do it anyway, and then there was apparently some sort of news outlet thing that got back to the Linney estate, and the show got put on halt.
Oh.
And they were like, you can't do this. So a female actress had to come in, and then the show got halted a second time because they demanded a copy of the program, and one of the other characters who was supposed to be a female, she was billed as Sam. Her name was Samantha, but she was billed as Sam, and they were like, hey, you trying to pull another fast one? And we're like, no, we swear to God, she's so sometimes you bend the rules a little, which as a DM, you can definitely read something in a book and go, well, that's stupid. Or, I don't feel like that's enough. I'm going to build off of that. So you kind of, it has, they have similar limitations and freedoms, I think.
I mean, that's true. I mean, look at what Michael did with Zulkin and Kella. They were one line, or Gum Gum. They were one line in the text, and he just built everything on top of it.
That's a lot of what happened. More in our Wednesday game, the home playing we play at home, where one line NPCs or whatever will become major characters, or even for us, in the actual module.
Yeah, we're playing Out of the Abyss.
Yeah, in the actual book, Prince Darendil's story is apparently completely different than the way it rolled out for us. Because Matt got to the point where it was like the parties got really attached to Darendil. I want to change how that ends. I don't necessarily want to. I don't know if anybody's played out either, but sort of plans to, so I don't want to spoil what happens with Darendil in the book. It's just different from the way it is, because the way it is in the book is you come across this Quaigoth who's like, I'm an elven prince trapped in a Quaigoth body,
right?
And then you either are like, okay, come with us, and then you eventually you have to determine, down the line.
Check.
Yeah, down the line, when you find out if that's the truth or not or whatever. So ours was apparently completely deviated from the book, because also when I joined our game, my character wasn't quite ready. I played Darendil for a little while, so I looked him up, and I was like, oh, I hope I didn't just spoil this 2 year from now thing. But then it turns out it was completely different. So you can change whatever you want. I can definitely see the
correlation between text and changing for directing and stuff, for sure.
And as opposed to in theater, where some estate, some dead asshole will sue you.
Right.
The D&D people don't give a fuck.
Right. Exactly.
D&D people tell you to change their stuff.
Yeah, they do. They encourage it. Whereas with like something like Peter Pan, they would like the freaking.
The burial scene.
I feel like the D&D books should come with that clip from the first Pirates of the Caribbean. Where like they're really more like guidelines.
They're really more like guidelines.
Yeah.
Well, my next question is actually a pretty good one. I actually love this question that he pulled up. Do you consider DMing a useful resume note for management positions? Why or why not?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know my answer, but I'm curious what your.
Well, yeah, I have an answer too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do I. I think we all have answers for it.
My answer is yeah.
My answer is
yeah. I don't see why not.
Mm-hmm.
Why should it not be? It literally is all of the same skills that any kind of manager. Organization, people skills. A large part of it is communication and people skills. Being able to schedule events with people and having them meet those and having deadlines. I mean, you write up handouts that you give to people. You have to keep track of multiple people's needs. Like, yes, the entire thing. Yes,
it is a management position, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's like
it is.
Yeah.
You are managing a group of people.
That's why That's why I don't DM. I only do one shots because it's too much work.
Yeah, I spend like 10 to 20 hours prepping sometimes.
For sure, I could totally see that.
It's crazy.
To not be rude, I'm writing handouts for my players on my other screen right now.
I don't blame you. It's fine, baby.
But like, you know, just like if you were running a club in college or something, and that goes on a resume, it's the same. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Who cares what they're, you know, if they're fighting goblins? Like, there's a lot of paperwork involved.
Yes.
The maths.
What are your thoughts, Matthew?
No, I'm right with Hank on it. I mean, I know people at home watching, I know all of us have seen that stupid meme that's out there. You know, scheduled bi-monthly meetings with coworkers to work on, tension resolution.
Right,
and ways to work D&D into your resume without actually putting it on there.
Yeah.
But like Hank said, we've gotten to a point now where it's not like it was back in the late 70s and the late 80s where it was, they're getting together and summoning the demons and the devils. This is Friday night. But
you obviously haven't seen Tabletop Legends because that's all we do.
I haven't. I gotta watch it.
I'm behind. I missed last night. I passed out after dealing with the air conditioner guy again.
Apparently, they just had a sketch on SNL about that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pretty controversial.
I haven't seen... That was supposed to be discussed on the last week episode, and I still haven't seen the sketch, so at this point I don't know that I should.
Part of it?
Yeah, it's one of those where literally
I got
it's not a pleasant thing.
I got through like half of it, and
yeah, me too.
Couldn't watch the rest. It is so
dated.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking. It's so dated, and it's so not relevant anymore. Like, there was no...
It's really unfair.
Where was the female representation, and why was it so over the top that it was just cringy? Like, it wasn't even funny.
No, it wasn't.
There's
funny.
A way to make D&D jokes.
That's like
and D&D funny,
70 to 80% of modern SNL is like not funny and super cringy.
Fair. I don't know.
So it goes with the theme.
I just think because D&D has become so mainstream now because of Critical Role and like the campaign with the Kickstarter and how revolutionary that is on that end, that a lot of like media outlets are like now paying attention to this thing called Dungeons and Dragons suddenly, and the fact that it's like that's what they put out from it, like really, you motherfucks, get the fuck out. There's the door. Don't let it let it slam your ass on the way out. Like, fuck, get out.
The good thing that came from that is that I think that there was a stream where people were posting modern D&D players, like us. Mm-hmm. Like, we look like normal fucking people. Yeah. Like, you know, or better. So, you know, it's one of those things where you can view it as a negative thing, but it's such a positive thing in so many people's lives. So,
especially now that I feel like it's just taken off, and I love it for it. Like, it doesn't bother me that it's taken off, because if it helped me, and the fact that it's taking off, that means it can touch that many more people.
Exactly.
Right. It's back when I started playing. It was that. No, it was that skit.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the 5 white kids from the school all sitting in the basement, and they were the weird people.
Yeah.
Now you go around and it's like, oh shit, you play too?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I find out people like
But you're my
I'm friends
mechanic.
with
You're my plumber.
fucking people from my maid cafe. Like when we were doing our cosplay and maid cafe days, I found out half of them play D&D, and I had no idea. And I'm like, what the heck? All these like little Asian kids playing D&D, and I'm like, where were you? That made me so angry.
Why didn't you break it out at the cafe? I could have played with
I know. I'm so mad. Oof, oof. But yes. So yeah, I'm definitely in the camp that it should definitely be put on your resume. I would definitely put like this talk show on my resume. I would put even just performing on stream as an actor on my resume. Why not?
Definitely.
It shows commitment, and definitely helps with conflict resolution. As you learn in character and out of character. So I'm definitely in that boat.
Go
But
getter
also
attitude.
go back to things that Russell and Ink have said. It's like Russell mentioned, just that no filter. If it's in your head, it comes out.
Right.
But that's how a lot of D&D has to be run. Because you're in that moment. Ashlyn says something, or Varian says something, all of a sudden you don't have 5 minutes to sit there and go, how do I respond?
Right.
You have to be able to
Because it's like
respond
real
to
life.
that.
Like, how would you actually
Right.
respond in real life? Like, if you were in that position, it's not a text where you can delete and type. You have
Exactly.
to reply if you're having a conversation with a real life person.
So
And
I
if
was
you
just
can deal with that this way, you can deal with it in real life with your manager, with your subordinates.
Sorry, what were you saying, Russell?
I was just laughing, and Sarah can attest to this, because almost every interaction that my character in the Wednesday game, not on Tabletop Legends, has, almost every interaction my character has, that like anytime something is directed at him, it's towards going, look, fuckface. Like every time.
Yep. His name is Murderbeard, so...
Yeah, I'm Captain Macbeth Murderbeard.
Yes!
In the Wednesday game.
Yeah, Callista's pretty easy to default response for her. She's just always in a not a good mood, so it's pretty easy to get into her head. But on that note, it's the next question. In the world of scripted versus unscripted sessions, do you like having base dialogue prepared, or do you like to work on the fly as a director or an actor or a DM?
My instinct was to say I like having some dialogue prepared, but then I remember I've literally never done it. So do I really?
You like the idea of it. So that's the thing.
it.
You like
Yes.
the idea of it. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Like, you can have the
I like the
prepared
idea of
scripted
it.
stuff. You're most likely not gonna use it.
Yes.
I did my first one-shot. I had a couple things prepared by the person giving out the...
One-shots are definitely more easy to
Yeah.
use for scripted.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because you can railroad.
For sure. Well, you kind of have.
Completely. Yeah, you railroad. So
Yeah.
that was the only time I had anything written down, per se, was my one-shot. My first time I ever did it a couple times, like, I'd read the same one-shot twice. And it was like, I had the main character have
The
set
same
lines, like,
dialogue.
oh, this is why I'm getting you this quest. Oh, this is what's happening.
You're telling
So
me
just
you
so
didn't
I
write
felt more
any of Jenny
comfortable.
Greenteeth? You didn't write any of that dialogue?
No.
That freak? I love it! I love it!
Yay,
I hate her.
Yeah, she's so creepy. No, I had to roll on the table to see what she did, what she said, but no. Like, for, like, you roll a d20 to see if she wants your skin or not, but everything
But her
else...
like weird like speech like thing
No,
that
that
she
was all
does,
me.
that's all you. Oh, that's so good. See,
you.
I don't write things, but I will for like the whole week. I'll randomly feel You ever sometimes feel like a character just randomly possesses you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like an NPC will randomly
anytime someone says hardcore, Bubbles comes out. It's just it happens.
NPCs will randomly possess me, and I'll walk around my empty house talking as an NPC as if the players are here, but I don't write it. But I remember it, sort
That's
of.
cool.
So it's technically
yeah,
practice.
that's-
I mean, if we were to look
I
back,
practice it like I'm doing lines for.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
if
cool.
I will say that there have been times where in D&D on live sessions I have written something that I have spoken back to my players or fellow players. I've done that to Mulfin when I approached him on how he treated Anastasius. I did that for Anastasius's memorial when I had to write his actual speech. You sang your song. I feel like that's more of a leeway, like you kind of need to write a speech for that. I've done it also when Chloe proposed to Noah. I wanted, there's certain beats in that conversation before she asked him that she wanted to hit before she actually popped the question, and I specifically wrote it in a Google document. And I did the same thing when Callista had to confront Mulfin. There were certain beats that I was like, she has to hit these notes to have this conversation. So there are times when in character, there are times where I've written something out and I read it verbatim. But there's also times where I've written stuff for conversations, and there's been times where Mulfin has said something before I could even get to that conversation beat point and just beat it. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not bringing that up because he acknowledged it, and I just have to let it go. Because that's how conversations work. You think it's going to go one way in your head, but when you're live and having a conversation, it doesn't always go that way. So that's
called anxiety too, by the way.
True. So for me, I enjoy the scripted work, at least in terms of bringing it to like the D&D table, even as a one-shot like DM. I've done that as well. But I also acknowledge the fact that the improv, the ad-lib, is so much more fun.
Oh yeah, the reaction you get from the
for
actual
sure.
person.
For sure.
Or people. Everybody loves it.
And the memory of it is like, Christy, you're mentioning that, and I can remember the scene.
You know what scene I'm talking about. When she's when I was like, hey, you guys all accepted Ashlyn. Why are you not accepting Anastasia? Ashlyn came out of fucking nowhere. What the fuck? And I had that in my head. I'm like, I have to bring this up.
Yeah.
So
it's so weird
benefits.
when characters get introduced, even sometimes player characters get introduced, the reactions of the party.
You were a puppet for like 200 years.
Yeah, I was a puppet. My character was trapped in a dungeon as a puppet. It was only like 6 months as a puppet, though.
Okay,
but
6 months as a puppet.
But like recently, my sister-in-law, Matt's wife, Emily, every once in a while will jump in on our sessions, and she plays a character named LBD, who's a tiny dog with like pants.
No.
And like, we showed up we were just like walking on the road somewhere, and this dog just rolls up and was like, hey, I'm a talking dog. And we're just like, great, come with us. We're not even going to ask any questions.
Don't ask any questions. You're a talking dog.
And
You're in.
Meanwhile, we just had another guy who joined in. He fills in our Wednesday group whenever people are out, because we have a main group of 7.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty big.
That's
so
pretty big.
we're it's like a few times where we're all there at once. But we just introduced a new guy 2 sessions ago, where his whole shtick was apparently he studies like rare oddities and stuff. So he walks up and was like, "Oh my god, you have a talking dog. I want to study this." And we're like, Look, buddy, get the fuck out of here. Don't go near our dog." So.
Yep. Yeah, it was a very similar situation because, like, Ashlyn came in as our cleric's, like, best friend from her backstory. So, because our cleric is so precious and we all trust her, it was like immediately, oh, she trusts her, so we trust Ashlyn, Sarah's character. My character, Callista's a bitch. I'm not gonna deny it. She's a bitch. She's a drow bitch with not a good attitude, and it took her a long time to trust the party. So when her friend from her backstory joined the party, everyone was like, "Who the fuck is this?" So it's like a parallel of like contrast of how people react, and I in character needed it.
We also run into
party.
He was also Yes, very flamboyant. And,
I did not try to hit on every person in the party either. The first.
We also run into trouble
That's
in our
true.
Wednesday game where one of our guys can't fucking pick which character he wants to be.
He's like
So,
three
like,
characters right now.
He was
It's
one.
me.
He was
That's
like
me.
one
That's
character for like the whole set. See, like 2 years. Then he was like, I think I'm going to switch. I'm going to kill this character off. Then he was like, I don't know if I want to kill this character off. And then he like was like, no, I'm going to
Don't
play his.
kill them.
Then he's like,
hire them.
He's like, I'm going to play his brother. And he was like, okay. Then he was his brother for 2 sessions. Then he went back to the main guy. And then now, like a month ago, he shows up. He's like, oh, I'm this guy who's kind of related to the other two. And we were like, great. Nobody fucking cares. This is your third character in 2 months. Nobody cares. We're rolling on here.
Who has the memories of the first
Who
character.
like has the fucking brain of the first guy. And we're like,
It's just really weird.
just come on, man.
Commit.
We don't care anymore. Like,
See,
we're
I
right
feel
now
bad.
in our campaign doing everybody's personal quests, and it's like really important.
Okay,
Except for
here's a
him, I'm like, I
segue.
don't give a fuck.
Here's a
anymore.
segue into that, like from that. How do you go about incorporating the ideas and backstories into your campaigns from all your players? Because you've got like strange stuff like that where it's like a brain is suddenly in another player.
So
It's
That's
really
what I'm
hard in Curse of Strahd, I'm gonna say that, because
sorry.
we're in a pocket dimension,
Right.
so I can't go out and be like, hey, we're gonna traverse, like, all of Faerun or something and do this because we're stuck here. So I really feel limited as a DM that I can't explore people's backstories this much.
I think it's tough specifically because so many backstories are tied to, you know, friends, family, or enemies. You know, other people, other characters.
Yeah. Yep.
But I mean, that's also they should be for the most part. But like, I think, for example, like early on when I gave you variant stuff, and then we found out that the Inquisition of the Morning Lord was actually like mentioned in Curse of Strahd, you're like, and I feel like that's why Varian got hit with like a truck of stuff because it was kind of, but I was fine because it was like being able to be associated with an organization, you know, helps. But I mean, like I said, I'm doing this right now. I'm writing handouts for everyone right now. Like, okay, with the stuff that you contributed from your backstory, this is what you know. And Krista, you remember when I talked to you all about Wish, I said, Wish as a campaign, I wanted it to be even more open than D&D normally.
My backstory is an entire campaign, so have fun with that, Ink.
I basically was like, literally just, I was like, you want to take your, what was she at the end of the campaign, 18? 20?
Yeah, 18.
18. Took an 18th level character, and I was like, she's going to be a level 1 character like with everyone else, but Christy, I promise you, I will write a story that this is the same character.
Wow.
And so far it is. She
It
is a
works.
level 18 character that is stuck in the body of a level 1 character.
do feel
level
bad-
2.
Level 2
Story
now.
of my
I do
life.
feel bad because I feel like she metagames a little bit because she knows so much.
But she knows it.
So...
But she knows it. And I was
Oh.
like, that's
That
fine.
makes sense.
She knows it. But I told them all, I was like, if you guys want to make, like, multiple characters, then make multiple characters. And, you know, remembering that D&D is a game
Yes.
Yeah.
helps sometimes, because I feel like
You're
a
there
lot
to have
of
fun.
I feel like a lot of streamed content has made it seem like it needs to be a very, very cohesive story, especially just because watching it on streams. And because we're on stream, we kind of want to emulate that, like a
Right.
long, connected narrative. But I told them, I was like, if you have another character and you get to an inn, it's like a character change. You can, as long as you get to an inn, it's like a checkpoint, a safe house, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
You can switch characters, and I'll just write it as the character that you are in was picked up in the tavern. The character that you're leaving is staying at the tavern, and then that character will magically just be at any other tavern you go to when you're ready to switch back to that character. Will work in the background
it's like
about
the
what that
Final
character's been
Fantasy
doing.
when you swap party members. Like you only
Yeah.
have a certain amount of party members in at a time, but you always have them in the background. Then they level up with you
Yeah.
as you go along, but they're not always in the party with a Final Fantasy. That's how I kind of
Yeah.
looked at it, and I love it.
And like I told them if you want to start an adventurers guild and start recruiting NPCs, cool. Those NPCs now you can, because I really liked old D&D where you actually got like a lot of followers and people and hirelings, and I was like, hire these people, pay them, send them out on adventures. Like if you have 2 quests and you don't really want to do the side quest, you want to do this quest, send the NPCs, and then we'll just do some dice rolls. Maybe they'll level up. And then I said like, all of these people that you've hired, they're technically all your people. Like I'm playing them as NPCs, but like if your character dies and you want to play as one of those people now, I'll like give you a little index card of like what I had for their backstory and their main character motivation, and continue on be that. I don't care. I told how many times did I write like I don't care, like, but I care. It's an I don't
freedom.
care from an I deeply care.
But it's a
I think
freedom.
Michael is going to hate you tomorrow night.
Why?
You just
'Cause I said
inspired
this?
me.
Oh no! Oh no! What have you done, Ink? What have you done?
I don't
like that laugh. Stop it!
It's because he's got
Here's
a
the thing,
second
though.
clone now. Crap, he's got a clone.
He went full on
Oh.
thing is, like-
episode 9 trailer laugh right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
The thing
damn.
was, the thing was, I don't know how anything I said could have been bad, but apparently it is. Because that's what he does
No,
He's
it's
got
a
a clone of
wonderful
himself.
idea.
for you.
Right.
Yes, for him.
Right.
So bad.
For
Bad
me.
for Michael. It means more work for
For
Michael.
everyone else.
Oh, okay.
The
yeah.
Grinch got a wonderful, awful
know.
idea.
But so like
Pretty much.
to get back to the question, like the reason why I did all of that. So in exchange, I went because I told I don't know if I told Christy, but I'm running a private game
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
also in Wish.
Yeah, you have.
So you're both going to be in the same instance, and I'm going to have things. So I'm basically going to just make them write each other's stories. So like whatever they do on the stream, whatever they do in their private game is going to affect each other. So that maybe there's guest spots, so that it's like the stories intertwine. But it's also when I made them make their characters, I was like, you need to give me like 3 characters. Give me like a family. You know, it was like it doesn't matter if they're all family. It doesn't matter if they're people you work with, or one's like your dad, one's your friend, and one's like some childhood rival. But like, give me 3 NPCs and just know that they're going to be relevant in the story somehow. And just from them doing that, it created so much of the story for me by me just being like, okay, I have a map and like some stuff, and then letting their backstory, waiting for their backstories makes it a lot easier, because I might have like an idea and not know where it's going, and then they go, you know, one of them mentioned like, oh well, she's really timid, but she's a druid, she really wants to see new lands, but she's really timid. And I went, you can join up with an adventuring guild that specifically their job is exploring and mapping the world. That now explains where the map in my world came from, because I always like when I give the players a map to have an actual NPC in the story be the one that made the map,
Yeah.
because it just
that's cool.
is so much better. So it's like, okay, so you made this map, or at least your guild did. That gives me a whole bunch of reasons to throw random people in places, being like, we're mapping it out, we're members of this guild, and a player's already connected to that. They're a member of the guild, and they're a druid, so it's like it ties them with their personal goal. If I want to see what different druid circles, like it wrote itself.
Yeah.
If it clicks, it'll write itself. For the most part.
What are your
Hey.
thoughts?
Stop that.
What are your thoughts on it, Matthew, as a DM dealing with backstories?
I've run into a similar sort of hiccup right now that Sarah has running through Tomb of Annihilation, because once your party is in Chult, everything's on the timetable.
And you don't go back.
You don't go back. There's no going elsewhere. You have a finite amount of
Yeah,
time.
you two
to-
have
to-
different. You two are playing modules that are a little bit more strict than the others.
Yeah.
So it's like
I
tried
really
to work
wish I
in
could
with
tie
that.
in more backstory, but you just can't in a pocket dimension. And same with, unless you ship over people from, the mainland, they're not ever
Yeah.
going to be in Chult, so.
Yeah.
Like, we ran into the only one who we could really work with was JJ's character Gizzard.
Right.
being local to in the jungles.
Right.
And we had an opportunity with Lennon's character Quinn being an Eladrin and being brought in from the Fae.
Wild, yeah.
We had an option for that, and I laid it out for the party. Nobody picked it up, and they said, well, forget about that, and, capturing people from the Fae. We're just going to keep going this way.
Varian in Curse of Strahd has more backstory related to Tomb of Annihilation because he says that his whole family's from Chult.
Exactly.
And he left because he was like, yeah, there's like this whole like death curse thing going on. I'm gonna leave. And then he got sucked into Barovia, so really out of the frying pan into the fire. But...
yeah. Wow. Wow.
The death curse can't get me in a pocket dimension.
But that, going back to what Ink said, that's my goal for the next, is what's ended up happening, what Michael's doing, what Ink's talking about doing. It's just finding those little couple of pieces that you can just, oh, you said that? Okay, well that'll, and it just takes off running.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, shit, and you're running to catch up with it.
I'm already planning what module I want to run next to see if I can actually make a backstory for everyone. I'm so jealous of everyone else's ability to craft these worlds.
I mean, Sarah, you know what you could do?
What?
You can get them all out of the pocket dimension and just do your own shit because you're the DM. You can do what you want. It's called DM plot armor.
Okay.
I mean, the book probably ends when you maybe kill. I don't know. I haven't read the book, but the book will end. You'll hopefully know how to leave Barovia. That doesn't mean that the characters just all immediately are like, well. For some characters, they might be like, "Okay, I'm done adventuring," but others might be like, "Hey, I was pretty good at that."
Yeah,
that's true.
It's like I hear there's some stuff going back at Waterdeep,
Oh God, always Waterdeep.
But really, yeah. I mean, all of we've already in the background, all of our DMs have been working together to connect all of our streams,
and it all seems to interconnect at Waterdeep for some reason.
Well, but then everyone was limited to Wish for a while. It was Wish. Everyone was limited to Faerun for a while, but technically, by taking Brood and then connecting it, because Brood took place in Faerun, and then the subtle connection of Brood into Wish, I have now done what I wanted to accomplish, which is connect through a hop, skip, and a jump to Wish, which the whole premise of Wish is that land connects to every other
it's like a nexus
physical
point. It can go to any plane, any existence.
So that now people,
for sure.
I've written a connection in Wish to Barovia. I've written where the original, because they said that Barovia was sucked up from somewhere, so I wrote the nation that Barovia was sucked up from.
Oh my goodness.
Hasn't been gotten to yet, but so it's I'm trying to give everyone else the opportunity to be able to be go to Ravnica, go to Greyhawk, kind of thing.
I haven't done DMing. I've only done one shots. I did create my own world, which is on one of the second moons is a world of my own.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
I would love to eventually run my own game. I just don't know when I'll have the time for it because I'm in too many games as a player. But that idea of backstories, that's the thing that I would love to explore is getting all the players' backstories and learning how to connect that to my world and the overall story that I want to tell. Because I watch people like Matthew Mercer and how he does that connections, and then I see it also in Michael and his long game.
Yeah.
His long game is insane.
Huge. Oh my god.
And I'm I want to do that. I want to play the long game and drop a hint at session 2, and then it comes up in episode 70, and it just feels so good to have that backstory connection. It's just ooh, that's so good.
So good.
Well, that was
it's already happened to you, Christy, and Wish. It's already happened.
I was like with our Wednesday game again. I keep referring to the Wednesday game, but just because it's been going on for
fair.
much longer than
Tabletop
Legends has.
Yeah.
But and also I joined in. You guys were what, Sarah, playing for about at least a year before I jumped in, and we've been playing for over a year since I jumped in.
Yeah.
But originally, like, their characters started out in a jail cell, and they had like a whole bunch of NPCs, and a lot of them died. And then recently, our characters, upon like trying to get out of the Underdark, we were finally like almost at the gates of Mithril Hall. All of those characters showed up as fucking zombies raised by one of the ladies they pissed off. And then everybody was like, "Oh my god!" And it was like 2.5 years in the making. And meanwhile, Murderbeard's in the back, like, "I don't know who you people are, but fucking die."
I love that. I love that shit. It feels so good.
It wasn't D&D, but like text roleplay on like forums with a friend for I think it was somewhere between, I think it was 2 to 4 real life years. I had killed a character off in the roleplay, of my other character's father, and then like 2 to 4 real life years later, I was like, he lived. And there was I had a whole pre-written thing for his like coming back. Oh, she was mad at me. she was like, we had a funeral. I was like, yeah, we did. Like 4 years ago, we had a funeral.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah, there's just been so many times like in D&D games that things like that come back, and you're just like, wow, I can't believe this. Like, I want to have that. I want to be able to give that feeling to other people, because I know when I get that, like, that moment, I'm just like, how,
it's like,
how does that, it just like floors me. I'm like, how does that even feel to pull that fucking off? Like, that's crazy. And that's like one of the reasons why I want to try actual DMing, like a campaign, not just one shots, because one shots are so linear, so one shot so like railroaded, that it just feels like here's point A to get to point B. Everything in between is improv, but we're gonna get to point B. Whereas with a campaign, you have no fucking idea, and I love it. I want to do it.
So I have a question I want to pose to the group.
Sure.
What do you guys think the biggest difference is between directing and DMing?
Probably.
Aside from like obvious stuff, like one's in a theater, one's in your house.
No.
I think it's the thing that I said earlier before about how directing is about making everyone is kind of your team to make your vision come to life, whereas I feel DMing is a service.
Vice versa. It's like a mirror image of the two, basically.
Yeah.
I think it's all about control. Like, I feel like directing, you have a lot of control.
And DMing, you don't.
There's no control.
No control.
Players will do fuck all to mess
You would think you have control.
Exactly.
Until the producer comes.
That's what I'm saying. You think you have control as a director, and
I actually have all the control because I'm producing, so it's fine. I can just click the off button.
But I mean the fact that that the director is, you know, it's in the name. They are directing what happens, whereas the DM lays a foundation, and who drives the creative process.
I mean, to be fair, DMs do direct to a certain extent in terms of their overall their overall arching story. Like, say a war is happening, and they have full control over whether that war ends or who wins the war. The players can intercept and affect it, but if they avoid it, it's still going to keep happening with or without them.
Right.
So there is some form of control in DMing in terms of like overall stuff, but on the macro scale, but not the micro.
The DM and the NPCs are like the DM's actors. So I would like to pose that dungeon mastering is like being a director for a play where some of the actors are your actors and you kind of move them around, and then there's just a chunk of actors that are improv people that you didn't hire, and they're just there to kind of do whatever.
Shit up. Yeah, that's exactly it.
And
that
I
is
think
actually beautiful.
That's the most poetic way to put Yes.
Yep.
All of that.
That makes sense.
So you have like so you could,
Yes.
if you ignored them, you can play with your little people over
You can play by
here.
yourself over here, but they're still gonna come over and kick your castle down if they want to.
They're like the celebrity improv actor that like
Oh.
everyone likes them, and it's like you can't really ignore them or there's not going to be a show.
Yeah.
Wayne Brady.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that kind of
At
goes
least
along.
what Ryan Stiles are calling mockery.
Yeah.
Okay.
That kind of goes along with the way with my answer to the question is I think the biggest difference is with directing, a lot of the director's main job is to be really good at delegating.
Yes.
You have to
Yes.
be like
Yes.
the director
That's
will
another
assemble
good
you.
point,
First of all, you have to assemble your team, and you're like, okay, a director should have a good director should have input into every aspect, but trust enough in the team to let the team be creative. Like you know, with costume design, you should be like, here's what I'm kind of thinking,
Right.
but I trust you to
Right.
figure it out.
Right.
This is what
And
I'm thinking.
they have
Maybe
the
we can do
final
with the set.
say, but like
They have the final say, but they
want that
they can,
creative side from the
Yeah.
people they trust. Yeah, for
they can
sure.
delegate, and even with as opposed to DMing, you really can't delegate shit.
Right. No,
It's
you can't.
all you.
It's all you. All in
And
your head. Yeah.
like with directing, you can be like, even okay, like the handling of the text, I'm delegating that to the actor. I might give the actor point of views as how I might want it to be, but I'm delegating it to you, and in the end you're in control of that, but I trusted you to do that job. As DMing, you're like, I either have to play every role or I have to deal with the 6 fuckheads who are just gonna mess everything up.
Do it. Just shit on those actors and
But
play
at
it.
the same
Do it.
time, I will say there is, but it's not. I don't think DMing is completely one-sided. Some of my favorite moments as a player, and probably for you guys can attest this as a DM, my favorite phrase to hear a DM say is, "It is now." Whenever
Yes. Yes.
whenever like
Yeah.
somebody
Oh,
in the
your brother
party
does that all the time.
says something
Oh my
fucking
God.
crazy, like
You
prime
feel
example.
like a judge hitting a
Prime
gavel.
example, in our Wednesday game, we came across an NPC in... Where the fuck were we, Sarah? When we met Fizzleup.
Oh my God, we were in
was the town?
Gracklestook, right?
We were in Gracklestook, and we meet he was a deep gnome named Fizzleup Throat Punch.
What?
And he talked like
fighting
he talked like a dude, bro. He's like, "What's up? I'm Fizzleup." And like
He
at
was
one
from,
point
the Jersey
we
Shore.
went to get in a fight, and it was like, and he's like, and he takes out his mace, and somebody at the table was like, "Is it a big like fist size like giant mace?" And Matt's like, "It is now."
Oh no.
Like it became his thing. Like he's got like a giant fist for a mace. So
Oh.
R.I.P. Fizzleup. We ran into a dragon
Oh,
about a month
no.
ago, and he got straight up fucking vaporized.
That's so funny because like if his name was like Throat Punch, you'd think he's a
Liter-
fisticuffs guy, and then he takes out a mace. Takes out a
Yeah.
mace. That
Well,
has a
we
fist
met
on it.
him. We met him because he was the champion of like the fighting
Fight
pits,
Club, yeah.
and our barbarian like beat him in the fighting pits, and then he was like, "Yo, I may respect you. I'm gonna join your
Oh
cause."
my
Yo.
God.
You
But
were
then
real
when like,
one.
but
Yeah.
then like when we're seven real players with like sometimes like anywhere between like 2 to like 3 or 4 NPCs. So like we're sometimes rolling like 15 people deep. So like the fights have to be really amped up to be any sort of a challenge. So like he needed to have an actual weapon. He couldn't just go around punching people.
Right.
He was also the fuck buddy of our 4-armed barbarian half orc.
Yeah.
That was a at one point it was a complete side quest that we went into the tomb, the thing where my current character was a puppet, and then at the end of it the reward was you could go through these different portals. You could go through one portal and nothing would happen. And I think this was all Matt's original idea. You go one through portal, nothing would happen. You go through another portal where essentially you could just change your character. It was a free pass to, if you were done with your character changing, you could basically you'd go into this portal and you become a completely different person. So it was a free pass to change
Cool.
characters. There's another one where
You get like an
Right,
attribute.
so I'm writing. I
you
need.
get like essentially you get a
really
superpower.
specific attribute.
And Matt had written like a specific superpower pertaining to every character. So like
Ooh.
Ivanka, our half orc, got an extra set of arms.
Oh
so she
my-
like
Wow.
I went through the and me as a pirate, I essentially got like Aquaman powers. I can like breathe underwater and like I have full movement speed
That's
underwater
so
and shit like that.
cool.
Yeah, and there was one where you get to choose whether to change like a racial trait or not. Like our
Yeah.
gnome got to choose a racial trait
Yeah.
between Xanathar, because Xanathar came out after this.
Yeah.
So he got to change that.
So it was like you could change your character, you could change your character entirely, you could change something about your character, you
Or
could get a
do it-
superpower or nothing.
Yeah. So it was really cool. He wrote that the whole thing by himself. It was really neat.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, we are running close to ending. Sorry, I just zoned out for a second. So we're gonna start wrapping things up. Which question do you guys want to do last out of the last three?
Oh man, I don't even.
The
I have to
advice
find
thing.
the questions.
The advice for new coming DMs, or,
Yes, I
or
would-
DMs or directors, depending on whatever you want to give advice for.
Okay, sure.
How about we do that one?
Yeah,
Advice to newcomer DMs and directors.
don't be a bitch.
Or be a bitch.
Or be a bitch.
Be yourself.
Mine would be, don't be afraid. Because I am so afraid every Sunday.
Oh,
But
I just want
it's
to hug
like-
you.
Yeah, it's like,
We'll literally burn the world on our own. You
Oh,
don't have to
baby.
do anything.
I get so nervous every Sunday, and I have my notes that I
have a
like,
question
and
for
I
you,
know
Sarah.
more stuff.
Are you nervous because it's live on the internet, or are you nervous like if this was sitting at a table with your friends? Would it still be the same
I'd be
feeling?
nervous if it was sitting at the table with my friends because I would want because I've got such anxiety. I want everyone to have fun. I want it to go a certain way. Everyone to have like a good time. But
Well, yeah.
like,
I mean,
fuck
that's
it.
a good reason to be scared because you want
Yeah,
everyone to have a
'cause you
good
care.
time.
But I would say that like no matter what I have planned, you guys do what you do and you have fun on your own.
Yep.
So I have to relinquish that and like just like say, okay, you're here. What do you do? And then everybody does what they want. I don't have to direct it as much as there you go, DM it. So
I think my advice is your Dungeons and Dragons campaign doesn't have to be Critical Role. It doesn't have to be the Adventure Zone. It doesn't have to be High Rollers. It doesn't have to be a big sprawling connected narrative where everyone gets their big super cool character arcs. It is at its core a game. So sometimes just you can do a gamey thing. Switch out your player character at the tavern like a party, in a
Yeah, if you need to retcon something, go
Yeah,
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid
Retcon.
don't be afraid of retcon for sure.
retcon something. If you didn't write what happened in the Western Forest because you really thought saying the village in the east would be attacked and they said let's go west because we don't want to deal with that, and you don't know anything, just be like,
Most
I
of the times when
didn't
things get retconned, it's for a good reason. So
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
nobody ever retconned something because they fucking just felt like it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love Critical Role. I think it's created a unfair view of what D&D should be because the point of D&D is that it shouldn't be anything.
Right.
You
It's
know.
just guidelines.
It should be fun. It should
Right.
be fun. That's it. It should be fun.
How about you, Matthew?
That's all.
I think everyone's covered a lot of it. It's at the end of the day, like Ing says, it's about you and your friends getting together and having a good time. If you're going to do the whole big sprawling thing and you're spending hundreds of dollars on Dwarven Forge and doing these massive layouts on tables, great. If you're rolling old school and you've got the old white and blue inked graph paper and you're doing little nothing but square rectangular maps on a sheet of paper, doing it all in your head, as long as you guys are having fun.
Nothing wrong with theater of the mind. Nothing.
Right.
Like
Nothing
that.
at all. Tends to run a little quicker in some cases.
Yeah, I find that's true. I find
Yeah.
theater minded goes way faster than the old school graph and how many squares you can move and stuff. Well, theater of the mind is the way to go.
I still
I
don't
always find
but-
I always find what the at least the theater in my mind is way fucking cooler than whatever thing like somebody's gonna
Exactly.
doodle out or like put little things on. I'm like, it's
Hey.
way cooler up here. You don't
Hey,
need anything on the
Full
table.
circle, D&D and theater of the mind. That's
Yeah.
there we go. I did
I
it,
will say
big
so,
guys.
so. Yeah. So my advice, tying things together, it's one simple thing which I think fits for DMing, fits for directing, and probably even fits for life. Is the run rule of just fucking commit. Like in DMing, don't worry if you think you're not going to have all your shit together. Don't worry if you think you're going to sound stupid trying to do a dwarven accent. Just if you think you're going to sound stupid, it's probably going to come off and sound stupid. If you're like, commit, I'm going to do this dwarven accent and it's going to be whatever, people have fun. Same with directing. If you were like, I want to do Peter Pan but make everybody walruses, fucking do it. Like you like if you're going to do that, do it. And if you fully commit, it could be good. I mean, it probably won't, but it could be not that good. Probably a
I'm gonna
bad
do it to prove you
example.
wrong.
Yeah, probably a bad example. Like, that's the thing. So, like, the craziest ideas work when you, like, fully commit. Like, most things that people are fans of, that we're fans, like, it would have existed if somebody didn't fully commit. Like, if Gary Gygax was like, I'm going to write this book, kind of, it's going to be like, I don't know, it's going to be a kind of like this fantasy thing, and like, I don't know. No, D&D never became popular, but he was like, I'm going to write this fucking book, and it's going to be so great. Same with directing. You know, when a director has an idea, I'm trying to think of a specific example. I guess Shape of Water is a good example. The movie Shape of Water.
Yeah.
It's like, regardless of how people felt about the movie, because there was a lot of mixed reviews.
I
like,
liked it, but that was just me.
on
liked it.
paper, for personal reference, I loved it, but like on paper, that could have easily been like the stupidest, most cringy, worst thing anyone's ever seen. But because Guillermo del Toro fully committed to his vision, and again going back to delegating, found people who were gonna put their all into it. Like, regardless of what you felt about the movie, I definitely think you should check out some of the behind the scenes stuff, because just from like technical standpoint and design standpoints, the things they did in that movie were fucking crazy.
In a you can say it was a campy story or whatever, but it's from a technological standpoint good filmmaking.
Yes, I mean, I think
Good
the story was
filmmaking.
good too. Yeah,
And it
I mean,
was. I agree.
and like the best example which I can give you for that is in Eliza's apartment. She has one wall that the wall, the paint is kind of peeling off, whatever. But I saw him behind the scenes. What they did is, you know, that famous Japanese painting of the wave.
Yeah.
They painted that on the wall, and then slowly layered paint over and over and over it, so it was unrecognizable, but you still had like the feeling that there was a wave in her wall.
Wow.
Cool.
Just like that amount of like,
Just
because
to
like
have the
again,
feeling.
if like you're like, hey, we're gonna paint this fucking wave on the wall, and then we're gonna paint over it so nobody ever sees it. If some guy was like, I'm gonna half-ass that, it would have looked like shit.
Right.
But like so many people were dead. So yeah, bottom line, commit to everything in life.
I love that. I love that, guys. Well, I think we're pretty much good. Any last thoughts? We good?
Theater is an entry drug to D&D.
Warning.
Or the other way around.
Or the other,
Or the other way around. One will lead to the other.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And that's okay.
Hey man, you
Both
got any
will
of
lead to
those?
happiness.
You got any of those campaigns, man?
Hey, anybody, you got
I need
some of
some
those?
dice.
You got those
Dice.
D20s? Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey.
those dodecahedrons.
No, get that D20 shit out of here. I need D8s, man. I need fucking D8s.
D8s.
I got 20s out the ass, man. I need
no!
D8s.
Say the thing, Warlock. Say you want more D10s. Say it. I know you want it.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
He's over here
that-
rolling 1d4 fire damage. Fuck you, give me the d8s, man.
Oh shit! On that
That's a
lovely
t-shirt.
note,
Give me
guys,
the d8s, man.
give me the D8s. I love you guys. Thank you to my guests, Sarah, Matthew, Russell, and Ink. I love you all so much. Thanks for jumping in on this topic of Dungeons and Drama. We will be back next week talking about, I don't even know what we're talking about next week, but it's something drama related. Hopefully Lip will be back. He got
I
COVID
think
the
I'm
other day.
supposed to be on next week's
I think
episode
you are.
too.
I think so is Ink.
Yeah.
So I think I'll see you guys next
But none
week.
of us remember what next week's episode is.
I don't remember, but it's fine. We'll figure it out.
It's something. He'll be an episode.
It's something to do with Dungeons and Drama. It'll be great. Thanks, BBs. We will see you guys next week. Remember to check out Storm King's Thunder tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to see me and Matthew. And yeah, that's
And
it.
Sarah?
And Sarah. That's right. Sorry.
And watch Tabletop Legends.
Yes. Tabletop Legends
Yes.
Tuesdays at 7.
So we're within the coming, Tuesdays and Sunday, and within the coming, hopefully, week, our first 3 episodes will be up on our YouTube channel, which is Tabletop Legends on YouTube. We're easy to find because we use the same, our poster as like all of our profile pictures, so we're easy to find. We have an Instagram, a Twitter, a Facebook.
This
And
Easter
all the social
we
medias
might
now.
be running a one-shot for Strahd,
Ooh.
but I'm not sure yet. So we'll have to see with scheduling and people and everything.
You'll have to tune in to find out.
What's happening next Wednesday? Do we know, Ink? Or are you running Wish?
I think I can with a new map.
Ooh.
Yay!
Yay!
With a brand new map that is actually mapped out to, wait, hold on, because I have it open right now. How big is this new map? It is it is 3,456 miles across.
Holy crap.
It's
I want you to
old
promise me
boy.
something. I want you to promise me
Okay.
something.
Okay.
You're gonna fucking commit to that map. Commit to
Yeah,
it.
it's pretty committed. I have all of the cultures and all of the countries.
Shit. Wish
I
is
have
getting
every-
in depth.
I have every single town. I think there's about like 1,000 towns or something.
Name a town after me.
And we
I can
start
name it.
around 9 p.m.
Okay.
on Wednesdays. And also check out our Patreon, patreon.com/proficiency bonus for the channel, and patreon.com/MysticHour if you want to support the podcast and the show. There are definitely rewards to be had if you are interested in supporting us. That'd be loved and greatly appreciated. Also, what else was I going to say? Gosh, I don't even know. I'm so
Also, Tabletop Legends on Tuesday. Maybe win a mug. Maybe
Oh, yes!
Yeah.
Win a
we'll
mug.
find out if that guy from Venezuela ever responds. And if you can't find it, again, you can buy it at MarbleMoonStudios.com. Yeah.
All right, guys. We will see you later. Okay, love you. Bye!
Bye.
Jazz hands.